Hi. Hey, it's Dena Tollefson and welcome to my studio. I'm so glad to have you here today. I'm going to go ahead and sit down in my chair. Today's going to be a great day. We're going to talk today about painting, adding texture to this lilies painting. It's called Ultramarine Lilies, and I'm in the process now. I've got the underpainting complete, and I'm in the process now of adding texture in oil color in this technique that you see here called Daubism. So Daubism is a art technique that I developed in the year 2000, and what it is I'm using knives and palette knives and spoons, and I'm applying the paint in a super thick texture. And what happens is you get this low relief sculpture kind of an effect in paint. So I've already got a little bit started here on the flowers, and then from there I'll be adding in more texture for the lilies. But the Daubism, how it's different than just a standard impasto, is that it's three-dimensional, and each of the colors are individually mixed so that they kind of stand on their own. Well, hey Gray, how are you? And thank you for joining. And thank you everyone who is joining. If you guys want to be quiet, that's great. And if you'd love to, talk on the chat, I would love to interact with you. That's wonderful and that's great. So let me get my colors. Let me show you what we've got working here. And you guys can hear my little birds, Groshi and Romeo, my little cockatiels back there. So the colors today, I've got a teal, and these colors are a water mixable paint. So I'm using the water mixable. And aloha from Kona. Hey Gina, thank you for joining. And Kona, I bet the weather is beautiful in Hawaii right now. Tell you, in Iowa here where we're at, it's kind of a cold day. It's not too bad. A lot of the snow is melting. But Kona, oh my gosh, I have not been to Hawaii and I would love to go. That sounds like a wonderful, wonderful place. In Kona, you guys, I know you guys have, in Hawaii, you have such wonderful orchids and bromeliads. And I know that you guys have, of course, macadamia nuts. Can't miss the macadamia nuts, right? Yes, it is, yes. All right, so this texture, I'm using a palette knife, and I'm just scooping it up like a little scoop shovel like this, just like so. And then just applying it onto the canvas. And my goal is to create a sense of movement. So I've got the strokes that are moving up from the lilies this direction, and then I've got the movement coming this way from the water. And so I'm using the movement of, where I'm placing the paint to give a sense of this feeling of kind of a serene pond. Come visit. Oh my gosh, Gina, I want to come and visit. So my husband Bill, when he watches this later when it's uploaded, he and I've kind of tossed around the idea of going to Hawaii for a trip. And my daughter-in-law has been there. My daughter-in-law Mallory has been there. So I wonder, Gina, were you affected? I'm sure you were, by some of the, there was a lot of volcanic activity recently, but I'm sure you guys had to have been somehow affected by that. All right, so I'm going to get a large mark so I can use the same tool to make a small mark and a large mark. And I'm aiming for kind of a canoe shape, or like a smooth kind of a canoe form with the paint. And so, Gina, have you always lived in Hawaii, or are you new to Hawaii? You guys have, I know you guys have Crazy Shirts, which is there's an upscale t-shirt company called Crazy Shirts. I did a design that was picked up for a license by Crazy Shirts. It was a poinsettia design in this Daubism technique. But they have these Crazy Shirts, has these kind of, they hire artists to do their unique designs. All right, so the vid was very bad, but volcano has stopped and air is unbelievably clear now. Oh, that's awesome. And hey, Vignesh Panoli, good to see you. Vignesh and Gray, Gina lives in Hawaii and is telling us a little bit about it. So, okay, so I've got this now I'm going to go, because this is called, I've named the painting Ultramarine Lilies. Of course, we have to get Ultramarine Blue in here, so the colors, I'll go a little bit and tell you what colors that we have. Oh, the Vogue. You said that the VOG, the Vogue. I guess I don't know what the Vogue is, Gina. Okay, so these, and I'll show you here the paint. So these are water mixable paints. Just going to reach back and grab one here. Okay, so this is a Cobra brand. So I've got the yellow, primary yellow, and the turquoise blue, and the, what was the other one? I know I had another one from Cobra in here. Let's see if I can get it. Was it the ultramarine, or the alizarin crimson? And then we've got phthalo green red shade, or phthalo green, cad orange, titanium white, yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, dioxazine purple, phthalo blue red shade, and then Mars black. Oh, volcano plus fog is Vogue. Okay, well, I'll say that we have a thing, and Gray, you'll probably respond to this one. We have, when we have snow, ice, and dirt all together, like if it's this time of year here in February, and outside it has snowed, and then we get a combination of snow, ice, and dirt, and we call that snert. So I guess that's the equivalent of, that's an analog to your volcano and fog of Vogue. But yeah, we have snert. All right, so let me mix up this ultramarine blue and the titanium white, and then get those marks onto the canvas. There we go. And okay, so first time of hearing of both. Oh, Gray, you have not heard of that. Okay, you have not heard of snert, and it's my first time hearing about Vogue. That's really fascinating. That it's. I love that it's been given a name. All right, there we go. And just getting these marks on here. I'm also, I'm trying to follow the underpainting that was already put on here through, that I've got. I put the underpainting on, so I painted that first with, you know, just regular paintbrushes. So, okay, so tell me about your painting, Vignesh says. All right, and hey, Chrissy, great to see you. All right, so I just put the painting, I did the painting first as an underpainting in oil color using just regular paintbrushes, bristle brushes, and these are golden Taklon. And okay, think about painting the volcano. So, and thank you also for everyone who has joined, and I appreciate any likes that you give. Chrissy, we were just talking about Gina lives in Kona, Hawaii, and she was saying that that the air is really clear now after all the volcanic activity that they had. But they had a condition that they called Vogue, which was when you have volcano like volcano eruption soot and that kind of stuff, and fog, they call it fog. And I was saying that here in Iowa, we have this time of year when the streets people have put down product ice and that kind of thing, and then there's snow, ice, and dirt combined. We call that snert, just because it's kind of a yuckiness that happens towards the end of the snow period. And Chrissy, I know you said you've been having a lot of snow. So, snow in England. All right, so now I'm going to mix up another color. I'm going to take some more of this French Ultramarine Blue, and let's get a little bit more of the white. And let's mix up a darker version of the blue. I'm going to add a little phthalo blue red shade to that, just to warm it up. The phthalo blue red shade is a very strong tinter, meaning that it a little bit of it goes a long way. Snort is a funny sounding, yeah, it is. Okay, and you said that, Chrissy, you said that your snow is gone. Oh, freezing fog. Oh my goodness. Well, Chrissy, isn't that a thing, like London fog? Isn't that like a, I know that's a brand of outerwear, but that's kind of a classic thing, isn't it? So, and if you can see, the color that I mixed is a little bit, has more warmth in it than the ultramarine, just the ultramarine blue plus the yellow. And so what I'm also trying to do in the painting is get an idea of color vibration, where you have a warmer color next to a cooler color. And then warm versus cool, meaning how it sits on the color wheel. Is it a warm versus a cool color? And then you said, used to be because of pollution with the open fires, but not now. Okay. Well, that's good that is it, I wonder if they are maybe, Chrissy, are they cleaning, is it like an environmental cleaning thing that they're doing a better job with it? I wonder. There you go. Get a little mark right there. There we go. So I can hear Romeo is eating some seeds back there. I hear him cracking open seeds. It's very clear. Yeah, and you know what, Chrissy? I know that the UK has done a lot of efforts to work with clean air and that type of thing. It's really wonderful. We're trying to do that also here in the US. I think that's really important. Clean air, clean water, that kind of thing. Okay, so now let's add some more white, some more of this titanium white. Let me get this guy scooped up. There we go. Let's do that, and then let's add some of our turquoise blue from Cobra, and add just a tiny bit also of yellow ochre. Let's see what we can make with that. We're gonna get that right up close. Okay, and so Jeannie, you're asking how long does it typically take me for one painting? So I am usually working on multiple paintings, Gina, at any one time. I'm doing, and the reason for that is like these oil paintings, this will take 5 to 6 months to dry before it can be shipped to one of the galleries that represents me. And so any painting at any one time, I'll work on the underpainting and allow that to dry, and I'll allow that, say a week or so, maybe 2 weeks to dry, and then I'll go in and can lay the daubs on top. And typically I won't be able to put every bit of the daubing on because I like to layer them, so I'll usually come back and do like one final layout of daubs. Now, when I do it in acrylic, it's a whole nother matter. If I do a painting in acrylic, it can be ready to send out to the galleries within a few weeks after it completes. So I enjoy, oh, thank you, Chrissy. Thank you for saying that. So yeah, I enjoy doing painting in oil as well as acrylic. So this is in oil, and I like the spontaneity and the immediacy of the acrylic version, doing it in acrylic. But the thing that's really appealing about the oil is it's just so smooth and easy to work with. This is paint just literally out of the tube. And yes, Chrissy, I am using the water-soluble oils. So, and I'll show you the two brands that I've got. Let me grab those. Let me set my palette down here, just a moment. Okay, so I've got the Winsor & Newton. Here is the, this is the Artisan Yellow Ochre, using this brand. And then also using Cobra. This is Royal Talons Cobra. And look at this like yucky, cruddy, gunky. This is linseed oil that has leached out over. The Cobra has a lot more oil in it, linseed oil just naturally in it, than the Winsor & Newton brand, the Artisan. But both of these are water cleanable, water mixable, and they call it a water miscible or water mixable. And these are, so it says water mixable oil color. These are no solvent is needed, no turpentine, and soap and water cleanup. But I just love these. And yeah, so I'll show you also, I've got, I have an Amazon shop. So if you go to amazon.com/shop/Dena_Tollefson, if you go there, and you have to type it all the way in, if you just go into Amazon and search for my name, you won't find it. But I have a curated list of brushes, colored pencils, canvas, frames, tube ringers. Got the color wheel, value finder, grayscale, that kind of thing. So all my favorite things are out there. And I'm what's called an Amazon influencer. So I do get compensation from Amazon, but it's no additional cost to you. So, oh my gosh, it's Joe Leg. Joe, how are you? Great to see you. And you know, the one thing is, I don't have green gold here in my, I'm thinking of Chrissy and Joe Leg. When I think about Chrissy and Joe Leg, I think about green gold. I'm not painting with green gold today, although I kind of mixed my own version with yellow plus a tiny bit of black. But when I'm painting in acrylic, I use a green gold that I love. I should get a green gold. I know they have green gold in the oils. I should go ahead and get myself a green gold. Right? All right, there's another mark there. So now I'm going to mix a color that's going to go into this dark passage here. So I'm going to get let's get some of this dark phthalo blue red shade and just a little bit of white. And let's mix this up. This makes such a pretty color. It's like a, oh gosh, I don't know, like just a really pretty navy blue kind of a color. A bright navy. Oh, and you're asking about, is Chrissy, Joe, you're asking, is Chrissy going to be doing an otter? I would love to see you paint an otter. Oh my goodness. So we have our PB&J otter. That is our little guy who is out, and right now our pond, the pond is frozen, and PB&J otter, there's a hole where the aeration is. It's a 2-acre pond that is shared with 3 other neighbors, and one of our neighbors is kind enough to do aeration, and so there's an aeration hole. And so the animals will come by and drink out of that, but the river otter has been, we've named him PB&J Otter after the show for the 90s. But PB&J Otter has been fishing in there, And every once in a while you see him kind of rolling around on his back in the ice, which is kind of great. And yeah, Chrissy, oh, I hope that you do go live tomorrow. That would be awesome. And you said, Chrissy, you're not feeling the best. Oh my goodness, Chrissy, I hope that you feel better. Hugs to you. Okay, and Gina, you're asking a question. That's a great question, Gina. How do you know when it's done? All right, so how I know that my paintings are done is I'll look at it, and then I'll say, does the painting say everything I want it to say? Because you know, like when you have a painting or any work of art, then there's something in your mind or something in your heart that you want it to say, or you want it to say something. And there is a moment when you look at it, and then you think to yourself, okay, you know, hey, I've said everything I need to say. So some of these paintings with the different daubs, I won't have a lot of daubs on because sometimes it just feels like, you know, it's got everything that it needs. And then other times, you know, it's practically covered 100% with daubs. And I think it's really just a matter of, you know, when you know, it'll just kind of, you feel like, oh, I've said everything I want to say in the painting, and then that's how I know it's done. And then sometimes, and I guess I'm sure right in the chat if you guys do this too, but what I'll tend to do is I'll put a painting aside for a while, and I'll actually put it in, I have a room that I keep just for drying paintings. I'll put it in the drying room, and then I'll come back and then look again, and I try not to look at it for, say, you know, several days. And then I'll go in and just quickly turn the light on in that room, and then I'll think, what's my first impression? Does it feel like it looks done, or does it, you know, does it feel like it needs additional work? And then based on that, I can then know, you know, is it done or not? Ask Muttley to make you a brew. That's great. Now, who's Muttley? That cannot be. Isn't your husband's name Reg? I thought it was Reg. Right? Oh my goodness. Okay. And if it is Reg, calling him Muttley, does he like the name Muttley? Or is he more of a Reg guy? Let's see, now look, I got a little bit of paint. I was wondering what that mark was. I got a little bit of paint on the corner of my, stick my finger here in the water. So we'll demonstrate the water mixable quality of this. So I got a little bit of paint on the corner of my wave palette. So this wave palette I'm holding is a, whoops, now look, now I got, now it's spreading all over. I got blue now on my other finger. Let me just set this down. I'm trying to hold too many things at once. Okay, so see, it just wipes off super easily. There we go. And now it's completely good. Okay, so what happened was I got, and I could see it here on the canvas, I got just a little bit of paint on that corner there. So we'll just wipe that off. There, and nobody will ever know. Yeah, whoops, exactly. But that's how, you know, these little things happen and how you handle it. You have to be able to get it wiped off and then just crack on, right? Okay, so let's mix up a green using this yellow and just a tiny touch of the black. And I appreciate your likes, and I appreciate you guys watching, and you guys are all so nice. It really makes this a pleasure to have nice people, nice friends. There we go. So now I'm just laying this kind of green color that we mixed on top of the existing marks. And I'm careful when I'm putting this on to not let the color smear from one edge to the other. So, oh my goodness, Davy, how are you? Great to see you, Davy. Davy, is it time for you to have your cup of coffee and your the shortbread cookie yet? Or is it, I guess, let's see, what time would it be in England now? If it's, oh, thank you so much, Davy. Okay, so it's 11:30 here. So, and you guys, I think, aren't you 6 hours ahead? So if it's 11:30 here, then you are, is it like, say, 5:30? Is that right? And then in Hawaii, Gina's in Hawaii. Let's see. It is. Okay, so it's 5:30. Okay. Yeah, and in Hawaii, my goodness, it's really early in Hawaii by Gina. So I know it's got to be at least 3 hours earlier. So it may only be like, say, 8 in the morning or something like that. Oh, 7:30 in the morning in Hawaii. Oh, it's an early morning. And I love that. That's one thing that's so awesome about YouTube is that we can all connect with each other, and it's a completely different time of the day. And everybody is able to interact. That's really wonderful. So I'm just scooping up with this is a little RGM knife, and I cannot read what size it is because it's so well loved, all the numbers are rubbed off. But I'm just using the same knife to scrape across on my wave palette. This little wave palette is super nice for oil paint. It's got a disposable, it's got an ergonomic shape, and then you can just peel off the edge when you're done. You just peel that off, and after you've used all your paint, you can I like to just at the end scrape all my paint together and make kind of a nice gray color. But super convenient for oil painting. I've also used these things for acrylic, but of course the acrylic, if I just have a couple quick little things to do in acrylic, if I'm doing something, a bigger project, then I'll use like a Masterson Stay Wet palette, because the negative, of course, with just an open palette like this is that in acrylic the stuff can dry out. Okay, and thank you for saying that. Thank you, Davy. The blues look wonderful reflections. Thank you so much, Davy. I appreciate that. And Chrissy, you say that your husband, now is your husband Reg though, is that right? That he likes to laugh like that. That's great. Love it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get some more Ultramarine Blue in here. I'm gonna grab some Ultramarine Blue. I have some on another palette here. Let me just grab that. Got a little clunk of that. There we go. All right, so we're gonna get some Ultramarine Blue. Let's mix up another version of this Ultramarine Blue. And I'm gonna add just a small amount of white to this because I'm looking to get some darker marks. So we'll just get this kind of, it makes almost a lapis blue kind of a color. Oh, it's okay. I thought I thought you had called him Reg. His name is Dave. Okay. Dave sounds nothing like Reg, does he? Oh, Chrissy. Chrissy, I love you. You're so awesome. Oh, goodness. Well, maybe we have a new nickname for Dave. Maybe Dave will be Dave Reg, right? When Dave gives you some more brew, your tea. Oh, Chrissy. All right, let's get a mark down here. So for those of you who are not already watching Chrissy's live streams, you definitely are missing out. So she does these wonderful paintings. She paints in acrylic and in oil, and she has these wonderful live streams that are really always very animated and fun, but while she's doing this beautiful artwork, we all have a lot of fun laughing and such. It's pretty neat. So, oh, and okay, so Joe, and also Joe, by the way, I want to say, I saw on Instagram you had done this beautiful, this little girl in Instagram was really beautiful, by the way, I want to say. And then, okay, and Joe, you're saying that you love this style, you've never seen this done in oils. Okay, so yeah, so this technique I developed called Daubism for the daubs of paint that are applied with palette knives and spoons. This technique, I actually, when working with it, the first, say, 10 years that I worked with it, I did it exclusively in oils. And then what happened was the oil paint takes so long to dry. It takes months and months to dry, 5 to 6 months before paintings can go out to the galleries that represent me. And so I would always be in this big circular thing here trying to figure out, oh my gosh, what do I paint next for the gallery? And then sometimes when they'll sell something, they'll be like, oh, you know, get us more of this, or, you know, customers are asking for that. And so it was always kind of a struggle to try and predict, you know, 5 to 6 months out what I should be painting or what people would want more of. So then I had a commissioned painting that I had to do, and it had to be done within 2 months. And so it's like, well, that's not going to be a problem to paint the painting that fast, but the drying time was going to be the issue. So then I went ahead and switched over and adapted the technique also for acrylic. So I'd say probably 50-50 as far as how many paintings I do that are acrylic versus oil. And they're, you know, just as archival. One is just as archival as the other. But the acrylic I don't find as easy to do, the method in acrylic. All right, so now let me get, and yes, I'm using the water-soluble oils. And, oh, you're making teddy bears, you're making one, Joe, that's neat that you're doing that. So I'm going to show you now here, we're talking about the spoon. This is my, one of the spoons that I use. I have this size spoon, and then I also use, okay, what do I have to do differently with acrylic? I have to put in an additive. I actually have a mixture of additives I use when I do it in acrylic. And that's just because I use a heavy-bodied acrylic, but if I want it to be a little bit stiffer, I'll use a special mixture. So these are the spoons that I've got, and I'll just do a couple on these. I'll call this painting. This size is a 14 by 18, so I'll call that just kind of like a medium to small size painting for me. On my largest paintings, I'll do a lot of spoon marks. And that's because there's plenty of space and wide open kind of a thing. These smaller paintings, I won't do as many spoon marks, just because of the scale of the painting. But on my really biggest ones, I'll do, the biggest ones I'll do, you know, like really giant marks and do that. Okay, and then you're asking about cracking. Okay, so the cracking can be a problem. Yeah, it can be a problem, and I'll know if I've got a crack. Over the years, I've been able to figure out how to put it on so it doesn't, I have to be careful that I have to let the underpainting dry first, which is, this is dry, and then if I can't put it on too thickly, I have to be really careful with that. So yes, it can cause a problem, if it did that. Now I just see that I just scraped. I have to be more careful with my palette. I just scraped my palette here and I scraped it here. So I'll show you what to do if that happens. Okay, so first I'll just wipe off my spoon with a paper towel. And a lot of times I'll just dip it in water also, just to give it an extra cleaning. We'll get him all cleaned off There we go. And then now I'll show you what I do in case I make a boo-boo like that. So, Barapy, oh that's neat. Joe, that's awesome. What about Barapy? All right, so I'm gonna scrape this guy down. There, we fixed him. Let me get another little paper towel. So what you can do, like I'll either do that with a Q-tip or just come back in with a knife, is I physically can remove a mark, because since the oil takes so long to dry, then I can just go in and scoop that. There we go. And if it's really bad, I can put more paint on top. That always works, especially with acrylic. If you've got a problem daub, just add more on top. And then this little area in here, I'm going to add more paint on with that guy. And then also, if you guys aren't already subscribed to Davey, you should definitely go check out his site. He's extremely talented. He does, lately he's been doing pen and ink creatures, like scary creatures and that type of thing. And they're scary, but they're like a scary, elegant scary. But he also has a wonderful body of work that he has done acrylics. I don't know, I'm trying to remember if it was also oils, but I know acrylics for sure. But he had like a fairy moth that was just a beautiful, he does some beautiful portraits and some things like that too. But just a wonderful artist. And he did such a nice shout out. He did a really wonderful shout out on his channel for me, and I really appreciate that, Davey. That's really awesome. Okay, so let's take some more of this teal. And I'm going to use this other knife. So by using a variety of tools, I can get a variety of different marks. So this tool gives a kind of a longer pointed mark. And then this, I happen to like this one a lot too. Yeah, we do. Davey is awesome. I love this particular one. This gives kind of a spoon-like mark too. Got, look at this giant knife. This really moves. And oh my gosh, hey Dana, how are you? Great to see you, Dana. And you guys also should check out Vignesh Pignoli too, if you haven't already. Checked out his channel. He's got some great work. All right, get a mark there. So what I'm also thinking about is the idea of mixing all the mixing different versions of the colors between light and then this medium area and then the area where they're the darkest. And what I'm going to do now is I've been putting the pure colors on. What I'm also going to be thinking about is doing a thing with more lighter colors and more colors where I'm mixing several colors together. And yeah, Vignesh is excellent. And oh, thank you, Angie. Thank you so much for saying that. And Dana, it's great to have you here. All right, so let's get a color going here. I'm gonna add, oh, and thank you, Angie. Yes, it's so exciting. And I am very grateful for everyone. I'm grateful for your support and your likes and things. Oh, and thank you, Dana, for saying that. You guys are all so nice. Okay, so we have this kind of, I'll say it, kind of a toothpastey color, but I want to get a little bit more variety in that. So I'm going to add some of the yellow ochre into that mixture. And I'm going to grab some more white. And let's see what we can make with this. I think we can make something, I'm looking for something that's more subtle, more like a subtle yellowy green kind of a color. So I'm trying to have a combination of colors pure from the tube and then colors that have all been mixed together, making different shades of tones and shades of grays, kind of complex colors where you look at it and you're like, well, I don't know if I can call that color. I'm not sure what that color's called. That's the kind of effect I'm hoping for. Is that, there we go. I like this color that we have. And we're going to make a little path of this guy going out. Yeah, and Joe, I keep looking on your channel and hoping to find videos. Joe, we need you. We have to start a Joe club that we need Joe to start doing some videos. Joe has a lot of work that she's put out on Instagram, but I have not seen them in video form. All right, so let's get, I'm liking this kind of neutral color that we mixed with the turquoise, the white, the yellow ochre. And so yellow ochre is really a wonderful color for mixing other colors and toning them down or graying them down. It is a mix. You can make your own yellow ochre or your own version of yellow ochre by mixing yellow and purple together. And since yellow and purple are opposites on the color wheel, it's instantly a neutral. And so the things that you mix it with, that's going to gray them down as well. Get a couple marks there. There we go. And, oh, well, Vignesh, thank you for saying that. And thank you, Dana, for visiting my Amazon store. I appreciate you guys. You guys are so nice. Oh my goodness. Joe, you are painfully shy. Joe, what if you got, I'm thinking, what if you did it and then you did it in a way that you weren't speaking? You could try that. You could do a thing like, maybe like, you know, some people will do time lapse and then they'll put it with music. Maybe that might be a way to do it. And you guys, I appreciate that you guys are all so supportive of each other. Like Vignesh, you're saying, you know, like how important it is to everybody support one another. And I think that that's part of, you know, this wonderful art community that we have. You know, as artists, when we're in our workspace and we're working on something and it's just, we're all just really quiet and we're just in our own head. And it can be lonely sometimes, and it's really neat to be able to have this camaraderie and this fellowship with other people. It's a really great thing. Get a little mark here. So I'm also trying to think about the play of light and dark and doing that kind of a thing. Yeah, well, Chrissy, that's true. It can be. Yeah, absolutely. And hey, Wandering Art, how are you? Thank you for joining. But you're right, yeah, it can be a thing, setting up all the equipment and that kind of thing. I agree, Chrissy. It can be, that can be a barrier or a hassle. Absolutely. So, and I'm also, when I'm putting these marks on, I'm also thinking about the idea that when we look up close on the painting, it's all about this texture and about this subtle play of colors one against another. And then when you get further away, I want the painting to look representational or to look like something. So I'm also trying to be cognizant of that when I'm painting, and I'll get a little bit of the water color up onto the flower. dot. There we go. All right. And wondering it, it's so good to have you here. It really is. You guys aren't familiar with Wandering Out, definitely go to her channel. She's got a great channel. I'm going to go back here to this other tool. And everybody should, it's like everybody is thinking about their own work and that kind of a thing, but it's so neat to see everybody else's work because it's really inspiring to see what other people create and how they create. It's a great thing. So I'm going to make up a little bit more of some dark area here for the plant areas. Use iMovie, that's the only on for Apple. Okay. Yeah, it's finding all the right equipment and getting the stuff that all works for everybody, that can be tricky. All right, so we're gonna make a dark, another dark green by mixing the black and the yellow together. I'm gonna use quite a bit of black. The black is a very strong tinter next to the yellow, but on purpose, I'm really kind of aiming for something that's like almost a black with just maybe hints of yellow. So we're looking for a very dark, dark green. Like that, there we go. And I'm actually gonna add a little purple to this. That's gonna cool it down, and it's gonna add another tone inside the canvas. So there we go. I'm looking for this super, super dark because on my grayscale, I am looking to get a variety of colors, and so I know I want to get some of these darker colors going in here in the painting because I've got a C-shaped composition, and then the light is coming in through here, and the light areas are more of these middle tones. I don't have a lot of super light colors here in the painting, but that's okay. But I do need to make sure that my darks are dark enough. So I've got a nice, really nice, wonderful dark going here. So yeah, there we go. So we'll get him up onto the canvas. And I'm using my long tool, and we can just kind of drag and get this long shape. Kind of this, there we go. Just kind of, and if you're I'm over right over here by the canvas, I can hear, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it makes like a croaking sound, like a kind of a thing. Here, listen if you can hear that. Can you hear that? Well, you can hear Grouchy and Romeo, but it's like the croaking sound when that goes in. So I like this effect that it's doing. I'm looking at these vertical elements. I'm looking to get a little bit more dimensionality in these vertical elements. So I'm just loading up my tool, and I have a nice edge, and then go zoop, and just get him going. There we go. Oh, you guys hear Romeo now? So thank you so much, you guys. Thank you, Chrissy. And you found Joe. Okay, good, Davy. Good, good, good. Does anyone have a request? Let's see if we can activate Romeo with a whistle. So, guys, write in if I can recognize the song or another song. Let's see if we can get him to respond by whistling. So put in your ideas. What was it? Chrissy, you had another one. It was like Country Roads, Take Me Home with John Denver. And Romeo did it. So let's see what we can do. We have Romeo and Dena and Muttley on yours. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness. But yeah, write down your ideas. Okay. So, hey, Elf Lord's Journeys. Hey, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. All right, so let's get a little bit of, this is just our alizarin crimson. I'm going to put a little bit more of the alizarin crimson in the painting because another goal I have in my work is that the colors will feel balanced. And so I want to be able to bisect the canvas into quarters or rotate the canvas. And I want to be able to feel like there's an equal amount of activity or some colors all throughout. So this passage here, we have this is a very quiet area, which is okay to have some quiet areas, but I want to kind of punch up the activity here by adding some of the reds in. I'm just going to add tiny little bits of red elsewhere in the painting. I have to be careful I don't go too crazy with that and just kind of get it all over, but just tiny little touches will kind of spreads the love a little bit on here. So thank you guys for your compliments. Thank you for saying that, and I appreciate all your likes too. You guys are really wonderful. All right, so getting some more of this red. Now let me add a little bit of white to this red. And I want to make a color, so this makes a very pretty kind of a rose color. This is the permanent alizarin crimson, water mixable oil or water miscible oil. This one is the Winsor & Newton. And I'm just going to add some additional color up here in our lilies. That's another thought I have is I want to have the painting have a lot of interest up close so that the colors you go and it's kind of like a mix of all different kind of colors. So I'm just putting some of these little colors just throughout. So this medium color here, we can get him in there. And then we'll also be mixing a lighter one that I can use up in this passage. But I think Chrissy does a great job of doing this kind of idea. Chrissy, you do a really good job with that, where you kind of get your color going and then have it kind of dotted throughout the painting. So, well, hey, Tiffany. Great to see you. Thank you for joining us. All right, so I'm going to mix the pink and the green together. And so this pink and the green are going to make a neutral color. And it's going to be slightly, I guess, well, let's see what it's going to do. It's going to be a grayed color. And I think this will be really nice to put on the painting here. Let's get all that pink worked in. I don't like if there's streaking in the color. There we go, that's a good color. All right, so let's get this color on. And what this is doing is this is making the water area feel a little bit more complete by adding the pink right into the green. And we're making this kind of taupey neutral color that's edging closer to the pink side. Get a mark in there. There we go. Dotting by Abba. You know what? I don't know. That's a great one, Davy. I don't know. Let's see. Okay. And then Elf Lord, you're saying you've never used oil. A little acrylic's mostly watercolor is your favorite medium. Yeah. Okay. So Elf, this one is we're doing the Elf Lord. We're doing this in oil today. Okay, Abba. I don't know that song. But I do know SOS. So let me do an ABBA song. Like, we'll try that. We'll see if we can get Romeo to respond. Little cockatiel Romeo back there. Let's see if we can get him to respond. So, which is my version of the SOS song. Do you guys hear it? Okay, or we could do Bohemian Rhapsody. Let's try a little bit. The Dancing Queen. Okay, all right, we'll do a little Dancing Queen, and then let's do a little Bohemian Rhapsody. Oh, do you hear Romeo is trying to do it? Okay. This is supposed to be Dancing Queen. All right, Romeo, can you do that one? Oh. He's thinking about it. Yes. He is trying it. Okay. All right, a Bohemian Rhapsody for Jeannie. Okay, for Gina. I'm going to say, Mamma Mia, Mamma Mia. And I love it that Romeo humors us because as a human, of course, I don't have my bird voice is not as beautiful as his bird voice. Oh. Romeo. Do you hear Romeo go? All right, very good. Those were great ideas, you guys. Yeah, okay, so Romeo is doing a gifted whistler. Thank you, Gina, I appreciate that. Okay, and then smoke on the water. I don't know smoke on the water, Davey. I don't know that one. Okay, and then Elf, yes. Okay, so I'll say, okay, so Romeo is doing really well, although we did have a problem that he was trying to bite Gershie the other day, and I could tell he's trying to bite her because she'll all of a sudden go, and then kind of be running all over in the cage. So he gets a little aggressive sometimes, which is a problem. But yeah, okay, so Elf, what we have here is water-soluble oils. These are wonderful. They're clean up with soap and water, which is fantastic and super easy to use. And I love using the water-soluble oils. I'll say a lot of friends that I have switched over to the water-soluble just because it's so much easier there's not so much of a smell. You don't need any turpentine. You don't need any mineral spirits, that kind of thing. You can also, if you use a tiny, tiny amount of water, you can use your water like on your brush, for example, when you approach with your brush, you can mix a very small amount of water in with the paint when you're painting to smooth it out and make it so it goes on the brush and on the canvas easier. The one caveat with that is you want to be sure to not put too much on. So thank you, Dana. Thank you for saying that. So yeah, okay, so the chemicals, the nasty chemicals are bad, and we want to avoid using all of those, absolutely. So that's what's so nice about the water soluble. But if you are going to, for example, do glazing, and for glazing there is a medium that you use, and it's just 4 water mixable paint. I have that out on my Amazon site, but it's different companies make them. I use the Winsor & Newton one. I've also used Holbein, has a good one, and Duo from Aqua Oil. They've got a nice medium that you can use. But what you do is you take your paint and then you add the amount of medium that you want, and then it makes it nice and kind of liquidy and easy to use a brush. And if you're doing glazing, then you can mix that in, and the medium will change the drying time of the paint also. Now, if you're signing your name, you don't want to use medium with that. Then you use linseed oil. And so I use the Duo brand, D-U-O, and I mix that right in with my oil paint. So when I signed, for example, when I signed my name here on the underpainting, I mixed in the linseed oil on the palette and then used a tiny little brush. I'll show you the little brush here. Get my stash of brushes out, but I just used this little guy. It's one of these here. This is a American Painter on #1. It's called a liner, L-I-N-E-R brush. And you can make really fine marks with that, but notice that it's kind of long relative to how thick it is. So here's another kind of a brush, but here's what this is a shader. This is a size 0 shader. Just want to see, look at the difference in the length of the bristles between this little short shader. See that? That little short shader, that's this guy. And then the liner. You want the longer brush, the liner, you want that to sign your name, because if you try, this doesn't hold a lot of paint and it doesn't make as elegant of a line. Those liner brushes are intended just specifically for signing your name. Yeah, okay, thank you for saying that, David. Yeah, the colors, thank you for saying the colors look strong. And yeah, these colors, look how deeply saturated and deeply pigmented they are. And yeah, Chrissy, so Chrissy uses, Chrissy, you do not use the water mixable oil, but you do standard oils, and then what Chrissy will do is she will do, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chrissy, you said that you just go and use the soap and water cleanup also with that, and you don't add any turpentine or anything like that. So, is that correct, Chrissy? Yes? And then, yeah, and that's why you fell in love with watercolor. Yeah, and it is nice. That's right, Alf. It's that immediacy, and they're very portable too, I think. I don't know if any of you guys do plein air painting, where you go out and, oh, you use no soap, just, oh, you use baby oil. Oh, that's interesting, Chrissy. Okay. Very interesting. Yeah, so the, I'm going to grab a little bit more of the Ultramarine Blue here. There we go. And grab some more white. So yeah, and if you think about, brushes are basically like people's hair. They were somebody's hair. I think, you know, squirrel or a sable, or if they were synthetic, then it was something synthetic. But yeah, the brush, you want to be careful. I know when I'm washing my brushes, I'll use a really super gentle detergent, like a hand soap kind of a thing. And I know other people will use, they have special soaps just for brushes. And so, oh, hey Rod. Hey, thanks for joining. Great to see you, Rod. If you guys aren't familiar with Rod Bergeron, he's got he does painting, but he also does these assemblages, really neat assemblages of things like fantasy things out of his mind, which are very neat. And Rod, you are sick of doing barns, aren't you? He had this great video talking about his yeah, oh, sable hair is very nice. Yes. I don't have, you know, I don't have too many sable hair brushes. My mother, who is an artist, Helen Schaefer, she has a lot of sable hair brushes. They're really nice. That little sable, I guess he was, that's the same sable that makes like a fur coat sable. That little guy. Isn't he like, kind of like the mink? Where it's like is the sable a rodent? No, you know what, a mink is not a rodent. I think a mink is a weasel, or a member of the weasel family. Is that right? If someone can look up a wild mink. We have, in Iowa here, and in our backyard, we've had, in the pond area, we've had the wild mink. And I tell you, he looks like a squirrel from far away. but then when he starts to move, he's got this kind of looping, you know, squirrels have kind of a motion like this, but he's really wiggly and does this big motion when he's moving. But he swims in the pond, and he also runs around, kind of like a maniac all around. They have a very large territory, minks do, like a couple miles territory. But they have to be near a water source, so they're really, really great. People don't know that minks are really great swimmers, but they are. You have been bit by a stoat. It hurts. Okay, so okay. Yes. Okay, so Davey, you looked up. So they are weasels. I want to say that they're weasels, a member of the weasel family. I'll have to go back afterwards and look, but you said that you looked it up and they are. Okay. All right. Whoops. Now I just got a little bit on here. Let me get that wiped off right away. If I don't get it wiped off right away, then it's going to end up all over me later. So let me do that now. We'll just demonstrate the ease of dip that right into the water. Just got some plain water there in an ice cream container. But here's literally this is just water cleanup with the oil paint. Look how beautifully that comes off. And then we're good to go. All right. Stoat, weasel, and mink. Oh, stoat. Okay, stoat, weasel, mink. All right, very good. You were bit by a stoat. Okay, so you're saying a stoat. I was thinking, Davey, when you said you were bit by a stoat, I thought you were saying that was like a illness. Like you say, like, oh, I was bit by a bug or something. I was bit and I'm feeling ill. That's what I thought you meant. I didn't realize a stoat meant like a little animal. Oh, that's funny. Oh, I can imagine that would hurt because mink are vicious. They're like very, very vicious animals. Their fur coat is so pretty, but they are just crazy vicious. That must have hurt, Davey. Can imagine. My goodness. Oh, thank you, Robert, for saying that. And hey, Robert, it's great to have you here. Thank you for saying that. So I just did a video, an ASMR relaxation video of a little honey, a little daisy. And so if you haven't seen it, I hope you get a chance to go out and watch it. And for those of you who have watched it, I appreciate you watching. All right, let's get a little bit of the blue going here. There we go. And then also with the idea of trying to vary some of the sizes or the shapes. So we'll get a mark there. And how about one right here? So I'm looking to get a kind of a motion or a thing going in here, integrating the two colors in here together. Put a mark right here. There we go. And right there. You watched it last night. Well, thank you. And thank you, you guys, for saying that. Thank you, Rod. You guys are so supportive and such a wonderful community, and I really appreciate you all. We appreciate that you're all supporting one another, and it's a wonderful thing. Good mark, there we go. All right. And I'm just gonna get a couple of marks in the center here. Let's just get a little of the blue, just a little tiny little dot to integrate the two colors together, the two passages together. mark here. And a mark there. All right. Now I want to also get, and Tiffany, you said you think that yours is old age. The doctors never gave you a reason for it. Aw. I guess I missed the earlier part. I'm going to go back. I always, and if I'm missing anybody's comments or I'm missing what you're saying, I always go back and read everybody's comments on the chat. So if I've missed somebody, I apologize, and I know that I will be reading that afterwards in the upload. I'll be for sure checking all that. So this is just the yellow ochre. And I'm going to give this a little whipping here. I'm going to whip this up. The reason I do this is when I take the paint, I like to, even if I'm not mixing the color, is what this does is this actually changes the consistency slightly when you whip it up. And it makes it a little bit easier to handle on the palette knife. Oh, thank you so much, Davy, and it was really great. It was really great to see you, Davy. And Robert, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. That's very nice of you to say that. And the fact that you said it's from my heart, it really is from my heart, and I appreciate that you see that. I was teasing Robert a little bit that he needs to have his brother watch an ASMR relaxation video. So Robert lives with his brother, and when Robert is doing his live stream, sometimes his brother is up playing video games. And so we have to be sure we don't disturb brother. But Robert's a very talented artist. And he does these great portraits. This portrait girl that he just did was really wonderful, that he just did on his live stream. And what did you say? Okay, what is ASMR? Okay, so Gina, ASMR is a, it's I can't remember exactly what it stands for. It's like something like it's like a thing, and I can't remember what it stands for, but it basically means that you will experience sounds or experience whispering sounds, art making sounds, that kind of a thing, and it gives you the shivers, or it gives you a sense of tranquility and peace. And so it's really a whole movement where people are, we have so many things in our lives that are distractions and are stressors. And it's this idea of trying to be able to relax through sound and that kind of thing. So there's one video I saw of an ASMR of a rabbit. They just had a rabbit eating a carrot, and it was just so peaceful. But it's the idea of trying to just tap into someone's peaceful nature and relaxation, and it's all done as a way of doing something that's chemical free. Because chemical free is always a good thing too. And some people that are doing some ASMR things, they're a little bit kind of out there, like a strangeness. But like more the mainstream AMSR is really, which is like what I do, is it's like you are amplifying the sound of the art making sounds, and then just having someone focus on their breathing and just relaxation, and it's just kind of a healthy way to relax. Yes, Vignesh. Autonomous sensory meridian response. Yeah. Thank you. Excellent. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just integrating some of the yellow ochre to get kind of a confetti feeling or feeling of exuberance and energy. I want my work to feel happy and bold, and the idea that the energy is kind of the excitement, the energy is just kind of radiating throughout the pond. And like ponds always have a lot of insects and animals and all different kind of creatures that are inhabiting the pond. And it's important to capture that feeling. I'm trying to convey that through paint. This idea of that the pond is vital and it's active and a lot of stuff is going on in the pond. All right, we'll get another mark here. Okay, so you had asked Chrissy, your mom, is she called Helen Schaefer Garcia? No, she's just Helen Schaefer, Schaefer. So she, that's my mama. And now she'll be blushing because my mother always watches the videos. So my mother will be blushing that we're talking about her. But yeah, my mother is my inspiration. When I was a little girl, then I would sit at her side. And she's a school teacher. She's a retired school teacher and a very talented artist. And so she had Grumbucker oils. When I was a little girl, she would allow me to have, so some of my earliest paintings were done with like really nice quality art materials. But she would allow me to paint alongside her. Now, she would control when we open up, she'd open and close the tubes and do that kind of thing. But it was just a wonderful thing to be able to paint with my mother growing up. And that's where I got my love of art. My father is an engineer, and he has a lot of patents. So I think I got creativity maybe on both sides between my mother and my father. There we go. Okay, so Elf Lord, you were watching a national park series on the boundary waters in Minnesota. There are a lot of marshes and ponds with lily pads. Yes, they are, and I'm from the Midwest. And our next door neighbor actually has so we have a pond in the backyard, but our neighbor has a koi pond, a very large koi pond that they have next door, which is a wonderful inspiration. And then in Amana, Iowa, which is a city really close by, there's just a giant lily pond. They call it the Amana Lily Pond. But if you guys have ever heard of the Amana colonies, it's a destination here, not too far away. Like, I don't know, 45 minutes away, something like that, by car. So, all right, well, I'm going to get one little mark on here. I'm going to put a little bit of the water, get a little bit of the water up on the lily pads and on the flower itself. There we go. So I'm looking at it now and I'm feeling like it's done. So we're going to stop and we'll stop the live stream for today. But I feel like I've said everything. So Gina was asking, how do you know when you're done with a painting? So I'm looking at this, Gina, and I'm feeling like it's done, and I've said everything I want to say with the painting. So I'm going to call this done. I'm going to call it good. And I might come back to it later and add a few daubs later, but I think if I would, it'll just be a limited number. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming out and watching today and participating in the live chat, and I appreciate everybody, and I'll say goodbye. Thank you so much, everyone, and I appreciate you very much, and I hope to see you again in my studio. So until next time, this is Dena Tollefson, and hugs and kisses. Hugs and kisses to you all, and bye-bye.